Hey class, today we are talking about whole number place value, but before we talk about whole number place value, we should probably make sure we know what whole numbers are. So whole numbers are going to be counting numbers including 0. So here's a list of whole numbers up to 10. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So no fractions, no decimals, we're just talking about whole numbers. If we look at that last whole number, we have a 10. Notice that 10 is actually made up of 1 and 0. How much each of those digits are worth is going to depend on where they fall in that number. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Before we talk about that, let's have a little bit of a challenge. So I want you to make the largest 4-digit number using just these 4 digits. You're going to use each one time and see if you can make the largest possible number using those 4 digits. So go ahead and try that now. Pause the video and we'll see if you get it correct. Alright, so hopefully you've had time to complete that challenge. Before we talk about the correct answer, let's talk a little bit about what place value is. Place value is talking about how a number's value, or the amount that it's worth, changes based on where it is in the number. When we look, we're going to make a 4-digit number. So our number is going to go out to the thousands place. The key to making the biggest number possible is you want the biggest digit you have. In this case, the biggest digit we had to choose from was 9. You want to put that in the farthest left place value. So we're going to put the 9 right there. Follow that by the next largest digit, which was a 7. The next largest digit was a 3, and then it would be the 0. So depending on where we put the number in those different place values will depend how much it is worth. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's look at another example. Let's say we're looking at the number 853. And our main learning target today is I want you to be able to tell me if I point at any of these 3 digits, how much that digit is actually worth. So when we look at those different digits, if I asked you how much that 8 is worth, we need to know what place is that 8 actually in. So we can use something like this place value chart up here. We can see all the way to the side there's the ones place, tens place, hundreds place, thousands place, 10,000s place, 100,000s place, and the 1 millionths place. So what we're going to do is we know this is in the ones place, so we can put that here. We can say 8, or 3, 5, 8. One way that can help us is that tells us how many of those we have. So when we look at a 3 in the ones place, it means we have 3 ones. So this 3 is just worth the number 3 because it's in the ones place. This 5 is actually in the tens place. So it's like having 5 tens. So if you count by tens, go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So this 5 is actually worth 50, even though it just says 5. Since it's in the place for tens, it's actually worth 50. Then we look at the 8. The 8 in this number is in the hundreds place. So that means we have 8 hundreds. We could count those out. We could say 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. So that 8 is actually worth 800. So I'm going to give you another number. Let's use the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Based on where I put those in the place values, we would actually say that number is 123,456. And what you're going to do is you're going to pause your video and you're going to tell me how much each of those numbers are worth. So if I wrote it down the side like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can do one with you before we pause it. Let's look at the 4. Well, if you're not sure just looking at it, use a chart like this one. You can copy that down, pause the video, copy it down now if you'd like to. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to put this number in there. I'm going to kind of write it backwards. So start here, go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So if we're looking at that 4, it's a 4 in the hundreds place. That means I have 4 hundreds, 100, 200, 300, 400. So that is worth 400. So I'd like you to finish the rest of these missing values and pause your video now to do that. All right, you should have had a chance to write down your answers. Let's go over those. So we're going to start with the smallest ones, and we're going to work our way kind of up. A lot of times, the ones place is the easiest one because it's usually just that number. So when we have 6 ones, we have 6. We look, we have a 5 in the tens place. So this 5 is in the tens place. So we can count by tens. We count out 5 of them. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So it's worth 50. We already did the 4, and it's 400. Something I'm hoping that you're noticing now is a bit of a pattern. As we're going up and more to the left, the value is getting bigger and bigger and bigger because these values are worth more. Even though this 1 is not as big of a digit as the 5, it's in a larger place value, so it's worth more. So let's keep going. We have a 3 here. If at this point you're kind of confusing, here's another strategy for you. If you put it into a chart kind of like this, you can take that number and turn everything behind it into zeros. So we could write 3 and then 0, 0, 0. So it'd be worth 3,000. We could do the same thing for the 2. We have a 2 in the 10,000s, so we could put a 2, 0, 0, 0, 0, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when we get to our last one here, we have 100,000, so that's obviously going to be worth 100,000. So I'm running into my own work here a little bit. If I go and put my commas in there, they'd go right there. Let me just move these over just a little bit so we can look at it without getting confused. Okay, so when we look at this number, notice that as we get farther to the left, the numbers are worth more, even though it's a smaller digit. So don't get confused by that. All right, so now that is whole number place value. Write down if you're feeling pretty secure about that, developing, or if you feel like you're beginning. Again, if you're feeling beginning, that means you're pretty confused. Maybe you didn't get very many of these correct. Developing would mean you got a few of them correct, but not all of them, but maybe you need a little bit more information. Secure would mean that you got all of these correct and you are ready for more challenging things to kind of take this to the next level. So write that down and have that information ready for math class.